Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of FaB GaB, and this time we have a very special topic: Yoko Ono. It's not just the Beatles this time, and I'm very excited to welcome back a guest who I had several months ago. I think in the summer, maybe July, and she's got a wonderful book out, and the book is called "In Your Mind: The Infinite Universe of Yoko Ono." And it's so
Might
good to
as well
have you.
join in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For a minute, I thought you didn't have it. Okay.
I got it. There we go.
No, I'm kidding. All right, so I'm talking about Madeline Baccaro. Hello, Madeline. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate you having me on.
Yep, anytime. And returning to the show, we have two of my friends and co-hosts from our show, Talk More Talk. It's the Two Legs podcast that Tom Hunyadi does, and it's Tom Hunyadi here tonight to join us to the Two Legs, and also the man of many, many traits, many, many shows. He does a lot of things. The multi-talented Ken Michaels. Hello, Ken.
Hi, Joe. Many
And
traits. I'm going to remember that intro.
I was trying to think of a word. You got a lot of traits. Yeah,
Yeah.
your traits like you were able to talk about the Beatles. You're able to talk about the solo Beatles. You're able to talk
The
about music.
honeymooners.
I'm trying to like recover from that word. Traits. You got a lot of traits. Oh
Okay.
wow.
How you
That's one
doing?
of the good ones now. You're being very like laid back, and that's a good trait.
I'm always laid back.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, just like me. All right. So since we last talked here, Madeline, your book has done very well. It's got a lot of good reviews.
Yes, people are loving it. I'm very, very happy. I mean, people told me that, it's done from love and from the heart and things like that will rise to the top. So I'm helping it. I'm doing all these shows. I'm really trying to get it out there. But I've had some good support. Sean has been supportive. He retweets all my posts, and Olivia Harrison recommended the book on Instagram, and she took a photograph of it at Friar Park, which is so cool that it's
Yeah,
in
very
Georgie's
cool.
Castle.
Nice.
And yeah, it's getting around and doing a lot more radio shows and a lot more things coming up. And just couldn't be happier.
And you have some news to share.
Oh, yes, it was accepted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Library and Archive. I
Hmm.
got the confirmation
Congratulations.
Good
yesterday.
for
Yeah,
you.
that's really
Yeah,
cool.
Excellent.
it's
Well done.
amazing.
Mhm.
Well done. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to include a link here that will take you to the full interview that I did with Madeline, several months ago. So we really got into it really in depth. But just generally speaking, for those who might not know, if you could summarize just quickly, because everything's in the interview, but people might just want to know here, like, what made you really decide to do this book in the first place? And we'll start with that and go on from there.
Okay, well, Yoko's been so misunderstood, and she's really a beautiful, wonderful person. She saved John Lennon. She nurtured him. She, really helped him to flourish. And there has been nothing but lies written about her. And I wanted the truth to be told, but I wanted it to be undeniable. So the way I did the book was by using quotes mostly from
Mhm.
Yoko, John, and Sean, but including people like Phil Spector, who spoke about their relationship, Paul McCartney, who helped reunite them when they split up, Pete Townsend, who respected her as a revolutionary and an agitator, and how she shook things up. And it you cannot deny that she did not chase after John Lennon. There's quotes from several people, that show that wasn't the case. And it's just, I had been writing about her most of my life because I liked her since I was very young. So I collected all these magazines and articles, and I have a whole archive. And I did it little by little. I wasn't planning a book. I just had written lots and lots and lots of articles and combined them one day and realized I had the Bible of Yoko. One of the reviewers actually called it the Bible of Yoko. I'm like, that's good. And
Nice.
it's just like divining all this, the meanings and the information that was important about her life, not just her work, her life, her art, her films, and it's all there in a lot of detail.
And you got to, of course, speak with Yoko and meet Yoko, and from what I remember, she really was very, let's say, tickled about this book.
Well, I met her in the 80s, and one of the things that she appreciated was that I loved her art and music, and I asked her kind of obscure questions about it all, and she was shocked. Oh, you know that? Well, and she was like thrilled to be talking about it all. So that's why I have, all this insight, and just knowing her and her warmth and sincerity, and I just needed to get the story out. It's a very interesting, fascinating life. 33 years before she met John, 12 years with him, and over 40 years without him. So there's just years and years of detail.
Yeah, and she needs to be taken much more seriously as
Oh,
an artist. All kinds of things. I mean, not only of the music, and the art, but films. Poetry.
activism, what she's done for, towards peace and feminism, and a lot of it, it has rippling effects, and she's starting to feel some of it now, with the women's rights, the things that are happening that she, thought about decades ago. Her grandmother was a feminist, a pioneering feminist in Japan. So she's inherited that.
All right. Well, we wish you a lot more success
Yes.
with the book. You're doing well, because I frequently see reviews of yours, that come up as the book for the book, and that's great.
Thanks.
All right. Well, folks, I mean, this is February, and Yoko turns 90 this month, February 18th. And wow, that's really incredible. I want to check with anybody here. Whether it's Madeline, Ken, Tom. Madeline, have you heard anything in the news? There was a news item, Yoko, about her getting her walks in. That she's walking.
I saw that. That's
is that accurate?
That's in her mind.
Oh no. Well, that's in your mind. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Like, it couldn't be more perfect in a way. Because I'd heard that. I think the term was like, was it 80 blocks or 8 city blocks?
She could easily walk like 4 miles. Not right now, but yeah.
Yeah, not right now, maybe.
Yeah.
But you kind of did you see that?
I saw
piece?
that too. I also saw something about there being a party in Central Park on her birthday for an hour and a half.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
I hope that that's accurate. But I saw
some fans are organizing it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, great! That's good to know. So there you go. People, make your arrangements right now. All right. Well, I figured that something we could all do here for Yoko's 90th birthday is talk about some of her music, and I like a lot of it, And folks, it's calmly, I'll say, it's not all screaming and yelling. People love to say that. People have never listened to her. All she does is yell. All she does is scream. That's what you've heard about, but it's not true. And I recently, and I couldn't find it for the show, just got the Ono box finally, CD box, and I misplaced it. It's here somewhere. And
I've got mine if you want.
Mine's
please
back
do.
there on the wall.
Good. Tom, where's yours? Do you have one?
Well, I mean, I've got
That's
the individual.
No, the Ono box. No,
Yeah.
those are good. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Yeah. People know I have it. I showed it on my on my channel when I got it. It's very excited.
I always have them at my fingertips. This is the one.
Yes, that's it.
One that you signed for me. And,
oh, how good is that?
And then this is the one from Japan.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
And then this is the Ono video that came out with it as a promo. It's got Kate Pearson interviewing her on it.
Is that a VHS?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I didn't think to have this ready either. I have that old, I think it's 1983 VHS. And I always say, is it Then and Now? Yoko, Then and Now?
Yes, Then and Now. That was one of the first documentaries on her.
That's cool.
So that's it.
And I like, there's a great piece in there from the early 80s with Paul and Linda McCartney. where he has a lot of positive things to say about Yoko. He now feels that she's a very loving woman, a very strong woman. You know, like
That's on my show. That's not on this show. That's on my
yeah,
show.
there's a plug. Two Legs, the McCartney podcast, folks. All right. Well, anyway, what I thought we would do is each pick 10 songs of Yoko's, and we'll go around and each talk about the songs. And I think I'll do 5 at a time. I'll go around with the first round, 5 from each of us, and then after that, go around a second time and do the next 5. Now, I usually believe always ladies first. However, in this particular exercise, I thought that it would work nicely if Madeline was to go at the end, because I think she may have a lot to say about other songs that maybe myself and Tom and Ken wind up mentioning already, and rather than repeat, maybe she can substitute something special. All right, so let's start. Okay, we'll start with Tom. Tom, your first 5 Yoko Ono songs, favorites, what you like.
Yes, well, thank you again, Joe, for the invite. This was a lot of
Sure.
fun. As I am continuing to learn more about Yoko, I'm just appreciating her work more and more as I learn and not say ignorant like a lot of you out there. So I'll get that out of the way. Okay, so number 10. I picked kind of a haunting piece I don't listen to very much, but I really enjoy it when I do listen to it, and that's the track "Mrs. Lennon" from Fly, 1971. And one of the reasons why is Lennon's piano playing on this, not just for Yoko's the writing aspect of it, but Lennon's piano playing is very haunting in this one, and it almost is like a really sounds like a darker version of Imagine in a way. I don't know. You know, when you listen to it, it's kind of a little slower, a little darker in tone on the piano, and then I just really like the words on this one. And again, you know, Madeline, if you can explain a little bit of it too. I like the verse, you know, and our children, oh our children, did they have to go to war? Yes, my love, it's okay. Half the world is always killed, you know. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
And then the second verse I really like is husband John extends his hand to his wife, and suddenly he finds that he has no hands. Really,
Yeah, that's
really interesting.
Spot.
Yeah. So that was that's the first track. Number 9 is my very first introduction to Yoko Ono, which would be, listen, I was a big MTV junkie, like a lot of us back in the early '80s, and not even knowing who she is. I wasn't a Beatles fan at this point in time in 1985, but Hell in Paradise was just a hell of a video, and you know, I like the how, you know, there was people smaller and taller than her. I thought that was really a cool aspect of it. But the part of the song I really loved the most, and it's, again, she's an amazing songwriter. If you don't believe me, please check some of the stuff out. But the stuff, the kind of like the middle eight or something like that. It goes, you know, mesmerized by mythology, hypnotized by ideology, antagonized by reality, vandalized by insanity, you know, on all that. And it keeps going on and keeps going on. Kind of like in a way when Lennon was doing God and he was saying, I don't believe in this. So that kind of reminded me of that. But love. It's a fun pop song too. You know, it's really solid as a track. Number 8. Spent a lot of time with this album over the last week, and it's from Approximate Infinity Universe, and it's called I Want My Love to Rest Tonight. And you know, there's some lines in here. You know, he sees his he sees girls chasing after superstars, you know, while the men are sitting behind bars. You know, a lot of just, you know, sisters, let's not blame our men too much. We know that they're trying their best. So really some powerful stuff in here as well. And again, kind of a little slower piano type thing, but I really dig it. Again, she was a fantastic lyricist. 7. Again, this one too. I just love this track. What a bastard the world is. Oh my god. Oh my god. Especially the line, half the world is occupied by pigs. I can always get another pig like you. Wow. Um,
Yeah.
wow. Number 6, and that's from an Approximate Infinity Universe as well. Number 6 is from '73 as well, and that's from Feeling the Space, and that's a track called Men, 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 which, if you don't know what that song is about, just listen to the name she is spelling at the beginning of the song, and you'll get it right away. There's lines like, I want you clever, but not too clever. I want you bad, but not too bad. I want you strong, but not too strong. I want you to try your rightful position.
Yeah, I remember that line. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really dig that. Yeah. So, yeah, those are my first 5.
All right. Any comments? Feel free anytime if anybody wants to interject at any time. Yeah.
Well, just to comment on Mrs. Lennon, actually, she explained why she kind of wrote that song. And, of course, she had to deal with the fame of John and was taking a back seat somewhat. And she wrote that in Ascot at Tittenhurst Park when they moved in there. And she said, life was really strange. It's a quote. It reminded me of Citizen Kane. I'm sitting there, and this retired colonel who was our gardener came from far, far in the distance in this huge garden, walking very slowly. And he came up and said, these flowers are for you, Mrs. Lennon. And that's the first time she really, felt as Mrs. Lennon.
Interesting.
And then Big Star, the band Big Star, Alex Chilton's band, they used the same exact chord progression of her song for their demo of Holocaust and their song Holocaust. It's really cool.
Wow.
Okay.
Didn't know that.
Okay, Ken, you're up. Let's hear your first 5.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you, Joe, not only for inviting me here, but your comment that you made about Yoko's music to people who haven't studied it, and all they know is when she screams.
Yeah.
And that's all that the media ever shows. There's so much more to Yoko than that. And there are people who actually really do appreciate that, because there's more to it than just screaming. It's really showing emotion in her voice and what some people might consider vocal improvisation. So, all art is subjective, and I believe that totally. And one of the great things about Yoko, and I'm still learning a lot about her music too, because I don't know all of it, but I do know quite a lot of it, is that you really can't categorize her. Her music is all over the place. There's so many different styles of music that she's done. But you'll also find, especially with my list, that I'm a real sap because I like ballads a lot. And quite a number of the ones that I've listed here are ballads. It's always tough for me to rank like from 10 to 9 to 8, but I've known for a long time what my favorite Yoko song is of all time, and that hasn't changed for quite a while. And that's Nobody Sees Me Like You Do, which is a great song from Season of Glass, and a really beautiful tune. And I can't imagine anybody who's never heard Yoko's music hearing that and not liking that song. And I also have come very accustomed to her vocals when she sings. Um, there are times when she has a very soft delivery. I'm very used to that. I've gotten used to her voice over the years, and I love her singing actually. But the lyrics in here, it's ironic. This came out right after John died, because one of the lines makes you think of the irony of it. The very beginning, I see your face looking into the space, all tired and worried. Why does it have to be like this? You and I wanted us to be happy. But there's a line in there towards the end, not a line, the paragraph. I want to quit moving. I want to quit running. I want to relax and be tender. I want to see us together again, rocking away in our walnut chairs. That really gets to me. It makes me think of that line that John said, and don't quote me. He wanted to see him and Yoko in Ireland, like on the shore of Ireland, looking back at our scrapbook of madness. It made me think of something like that. Really a beautiful song, great sax solo in the middle. Nobody Sees Me Like You Do. It's a killer song. It really is. I had to put Every Man Has a Woman Who Loves Him in there. I really think that was a very catchy song. And, when Double Fantasy came out, it was one of my favorite songs, apart from John's songs, obviously. I really liked everything that Yoko did on Double Fantasy, but that one really stood out a lot because it was so catchy. And I actually kind of thought it might make sense as a single.
Mm.
Yeah. I also put in Listen, the Snow is Falling. That's a song that I play every year on my radio show at Christmas time. Really is a beautiful song. Wonderful lyrics. Just a few of them. Between your bed and mine, between your head and my mind. Listen, the snow is falling all the time. Really beautiful melody. Very appropriate for Christmas time. Like you, Tom, I put I Want My Love to Rest Tonight.
Mm.
There's a
Good.
lot of great lyrics in that song.
Yes.
I wanted to read a few of them here. The great thing is, because you also mentioned what a bastard the world is. Here, on the one hand, she's talking about how women are treated so
Yes.
poorly in society, and here, I Want My Love to Rest Tonight. She's defending men. It's taking
Yes.
the other side completely, and to
Mm-hmm.
see, like John has said, he was brought up to be macho, and you have to be a certain way in society. She writes, I want my man to rest tonight so he can face the world tomorrow. I want my love to sleep tonight so we can deal with tomorrow. Sisters, don't blame your man too much. You know he's doing his best. You know his fear and loneliness. He can do no more, no less.
Mm-hmm.
He was told by his mothers to never
Yeah.
trust girls. He
Yep.
was told by his fathers to never shed tears.
Yeah.
He sees girls chasing after superstars while their men are sitting behind bars.
Mm-hmm.
We're all blind and crippled mates, frustrated would-be presidents of the United States. We don't know how to cope with ourselves or to love our mates for being themselves. I mean, powerful words right there. And yet, not only are they great words, but you have to admire Yoko for having the courage to say these things.
Right.
Um, you're also going to find that I love Approximately Infinite Universe as an album. I mean, it's two albums there with such solid material. And by the way, you got to give a ton of credit to Elephant's Memory. They were the perfect band to accompany Yoko on that album. The musicianship is stellar. There are moments in there, especially the ballads the ones that I've mentioned and the ones that I probably will mention later. Adam Ippolito, the piano work on the piano-driven ballads. Gary Van Syke's bass work is amazing, like on Death of Samantha. It's a lot of really strong songs on there.
Dan Bronstein on sax.
Absolutely, yeah. And I had to put Move On Fast in there. I mean, that's punk rock right there. And she's doing it in 1973. It would have fit much better later on in the late 70s. And great guitar lick throughout. Yoko screaming through it. But it fits the song totally. She writes, bury your past and move on fast. Nothing's going to last. So take a bit of grass and move on fast. Where do you want to spend eternity? I might meet you somewhere. All roads lead to nowhere, trucking through infinity. I mean, if you love rock and roll, a lot of people have their prejudices against Yoko. Forget that this is Yoko. Just listen to it as music. Listen to it as another singer.
Right.
You can certainly hear how she influenced other people later on.
Yeah,
Like
maybe
John always points out the B-52s, Lena
52s,
Lovitch, and people
Susie
like
and
that.
Banshees.
But Move On Fast is such a solid rock song. It's killer. So those are my first five.
Very well done, though. I got to tell you, I wish I would have taken more time to write the lyrics down because it's a tough act to follow. I don't think I went that far. I will say that, like Ken was saying, he doesn't know all Yoko's music. I don't either, but I've been trying to discover more and more. And I have like so many of her actual albums, and I know a lot of tracks, but haven't gone through them all the way. I know Fly I've played, and that one and Season of Glass are two of my favorites as far as the albums that I've heard. I want to really listen to all of Approximately Infinite Universe because I always hear that one as the best by a lot of people that like Yoko. So I only heard certain tracks, but anyway, out of those ones that you two mentioned, three of them I matched with,
Wow.
but I'll start with those. I mean, I had listened to Snow Is Falling. I can't tell you how much I adore that song. Christmas time. It's one of my very favorite Christmas songs. Period. I have a mix CD that I burned, and that's on there. The words again are really poetic, make you think, and it's funny. You can hear the snow. You can actually hear it gently falling when you listen to that. It's a gorgeous song, and I have a friend that heard that for the first time, and he said I didn't know it, and he said that he had heard it, and he said, that there's a song she does about the snow coming down that I just heard that's amazing. I said, there you go. You never know, right? So he loves
Right.
that song now. That's always been one of my favorites. I also had two other ones. I had Mrs. Lennon for the same reason, the haunting feel. I mean, that was one of the first ones that popped in my mind. I had Every Man Has a Woman Who Loves Him off Double Fantasy. It's a gorgeous song. So I'm kind of cheating in a way and getting more picks in here, I think, is what I'm kind of trying to do. But I'm going to pick Midsummer New York off the Fly album. That's just wild, Yoko, and so much fun. It's really out there. But yet, I love the musicianship there. It's not just about her, only her. I like the guitar that's being played there. And, it's funny. John, I think, I'm thinking of John now, plays some of his best stuff when he was playing with Yoko, I think. And but like Tom mentioned the piano before on Mrs. Lennon, that's a great example of it. And he really does well. Another song that I picked was Goodbye Sadness, uh, the opening track off Season of Glass. Now, that's a sad one, and yet it's so strong because this is just after John was taken from us, and Yoko put that album out, I think in June of '81, around there, something
Yes.
like that. Yeah, and oh man, you could really feel her pain and her trying to cope with it, and saying she goodbye sadness. I don't need you anymore. She's trying to move on, and she says I can't take it anymore. And I like when she sings "Hello Happiness" wherever you are, beckoning, trying to find happiness. It's just like I say, it's a sad song. I don't want to be too morbid, but it's just so powerful to me. And I know yet somebody else, Richard Dolan, who not a big Yoko supporter, but yet he heard that song and he loved that song. He says I couldn't believe it.
Mm.
You know that was so touching. Um, I guess I'll count the other ones that I mentioned that were similar. I'm gonna pick also. Let's see, which one to go. Your Hands, which is from Milk and Honey. What do I like about that so much? I like the way she sings in Japanese and then tells you what the words are, translated into English, and some parts really send shivers up my spine. And I'll spare everybody out there me singing the lines. Plus, I can't speak Japanese, but it's a beautiful recording and a beautiful vocal job. And although even if I didn't know what the words meant, I really love it. It's like La Bamba. I mean, I don't know what all the words to La Bamba mean, but it's not rocking like that. This is more somber, more intense,
Right.
uh, you know. But yeah, that's one that I don't think a lot of people say. And I was thinking, of tracks that maybe weren't as common that I like. So I think that's pretty much 5 for me, even though some of them are repeats. But maybe I'll throw in a few honorable mentions later on, sneak those in. All right.
Okay.
So there you go. Okay, Madeline, let's hear your first 5.
Okay, so I'll start with some quiet ones. We'll rock it out later, maybe, right? So I guess the first song that most people heard of Yoko's was "Remember Love" on the back of "Give Peace a Chance," and she sounded really childlike on that. And I have a really cute quote from Sean. He says, "There's a sweetness and hesitance in her voice which vanishes quickly when she starts making her own albums like Plastic Ono Band or Fly. How intimidating it must be finding yourself in a world-famous couple celebrity relationship with a Beatle, having the bravery to jump headfirst into songwriting. For her, it must have been daunting. I feel like you hear it in her voice. It's appropriate and natural hesitance. Her husband is arguably the most famous songwriter in the world. There's something sweet and brave and something remarkable in the context of how she's going to develop." So he gets it, he's a fan. But I'm going to pick "Who Has Seen the Wind," because that's the second B-side of hers, is "Instant Karma." And she's just encouraging us to respect something invisible like the wind and nature itself. And the lyrics come from an old nursery rhyme from the 1800s. But basically, she just does this amazing job. And if you hear like the Record Store Day release, it's really, you hear the mix, and John's guitar is really wonky and sounds like a cuckoo clock is out of tune. But like, she's really on key, on point. Her voice is really sweet and like a little child, and it's veering like it could go off key. But she sang it that way. She was thinking of, the Alban Berg kind of voice where they crack, and like in a slightly crazed voice that's slightly broken, like a broken toy. And she just wanted to relay that desperation. But I love that song. I think that's really the most beautiful. And I also would like to highlight, I call them twin songs on Season of Glass. They're Silver Horse and Toy Boat. And they both deal with kind of like an illusion and a fantasy of a salvation that's not ever going to come. Because like in Silver Horse, it's like a prayer and a dream, and she has all this false hope. There's like new places, a house she's never seen before, and a stream, and she imagines a silver horse and realizes it doesn't have wings to whisk her away. But then she's like really positive, and she's like, well, it wasn't so bad, And John actually liked that line because he heard her singing that during their sessions. And yeah, I love that one. She describes herself as a wandering soul in that. And then Toy Boat, she's drowning in desperation, and everything she sees is kind of a deception. There's a picture lake that's fake and a castle full of flies. And the toy boat, it's in the distance, but as it gets closer to her, instead of getting larger, it gets smaller. And I just love all her warped perceptions. And I just love those two songs. And I also like Winter Song on Approximately Infinite Universe.
Yeah, very, very nice.
And that one, she said she wrote that under a full moon when John was asleep. And John repeatedly said that he wished that he wrote that song. He loved it. And the lyrics are just so beautiful. Like, I know you for 1,000 years, or mountains lie in a distance like the future we'd never reach. That was another prescient line of almost knowing something strange was going to happen. But there's like a shimmer about the song, and there's like these sacred lyrics, and the lake is shining like a drop of Buddha's tears, and the bed is shining like an old scripture that's never been opened before. And that only comes from, a Japanese background, but I just love that one. And the string orchestrations on that album are by Ron Frangipane, who played keyboards on the Archie's Sugar Sugar. So,
wow.
And then Shirana Kata is, she sings in several languages. And it's kind of like a Spanish morning song in a way, acoustic. And her voice is really beautiful on it. So I guess that was 5 for me.
And I'm sure you can go to a lot more, probably more like 55 or something
Oh
like
yeah,
that. Yeah. All
You
right.
know, you know
Thanks.
what I
Go ahead.
love about Who Has Seen the Wind is that you have a harpsichord on there, and it's either a recorder or a flute. I can't make out what it is, but it really has a classical feel to it.
it's
And
like
I mean,
Baroque almost.
it's what?
Baroque.
Yeah, very much so.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
All right. So thank you very much, Madeline.
Mhm.
And we're already, well, this is going faster than I thought. We're already going to the second round of five. And Ken, I'll start with you this time. So let's go.
Okay. Well, I would also add Winter Song, and I also had the same lyrics that Madeline just had.
Right.
I mean, Winter Song is another gorgeous tune, and again, the piano playing from Adam Ippolito, so perfect on something like that. Again, if you want strong melodies, if you think that Yoko is, how she's stereotyped and just screaming, listen to Winter Song.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
That's right.
Mhm.
You're so
Go to
right.
YouTube, put it on, and it should change your mind about Yoko. And there's so many sides to her musically. Um, Again, from approximately Infinite Universe, it's Now or Never.
Hmm.
Just talking about all the things that are wrong with the world. Um, People of America, when will we see? It's now or never. We've no time to lose. Um, just one verse I'm going to read. Are we going to keep digging oil wells and gold? Or are we going to keep shooting the ones that tries to change?
Hmm.
Are we going to keep thinking it won't happen to us? Or are we going to be known as the century that kills?
Wow.
Um, you know, to me, it kind of almost has a blowing in the wind kind of message in there. People of America, please listen to your soul. We can change the times to century of hope. Another song that's a favorite of mine is Dogtown. Um, that's one that she's done a few times over, I think. But the one, because you were talking about Ono Box, that was the one that I got used to. And I believe that version came from an album called A Story that
Right.
she recorded in 1974, but it wasn't actually released until the late 90s, was it,
On
Madeline?
Season of Glass, yeah. The 80s, 81.
I mean, A Story album.
Oh, A Story came out, yeah. One in Ryko Disc released it 97.
Yeah, right.
Mm.
Okay. But the version on Season of Glass, I love a lot. But I like the one from Ono Box the most. It really has kind of a jazz feel to it.
Mhm.
And actually, something that I read in your book, Madeline, when I look at the lyrics now of Dogtown, you had said that Yoko looked at life as, art as being unfinished, you know? And
Mhm.
if you read the lyrics of Dogtown, she writes, "Someday I'll be remembered for the phone calls I never made, letters I never mailed, and stories I never finished telling anyone.
Hmm.
Someday I'll be remembered for the fine words I meant to keep, a warm smile I meant to leave, and a true song I meant to finish writing all my life."
Exactly.
You can also just hear how these words flow, just as poetry, without there even being music. But what I like about that arrangement of Dogtown is that it's with the, I guess it's a flute. Uh, it really has a jazz feel to it. It almost, I hate to say it, it sounds kind of Jethro Tullish to me. Maybe that's when I think of a flute
Right.
in the 70s,
Yeah.
especially, I think of Jethro Tull. So, but it really works, that arrangement especially. Um, I like Born in a Prison a lot. Um, and I like the way that John and Yoko harmonize together on certain songs like that, and Angela as well from Sometime in New York City. That's another one that has a real jazz feel to it, Born in a Prison. Um, she writes, "We live in a prison among judges and wardens and wait for no reason for you. We laugh in a prison, go through all four seasons, and die with no visions of truth. Wood becomes a flute when it's loved. Reach for yourself and your battered mates. Mirror becomes a razor when it's broken. Look in the mirror and see your shattered fate." Again,
How
these are
great, so you can.
incredible.
How great is that? I got to interject because I have that song.
Yeah,
How great a lyric is that? It's the whole thing.
I mean, the thoughts that go on in her head when she's writing all this down, the
Mhm.
imagery that she has there is
Yeah.
just outstanding, what she thinks about. So, Born in a Prison was one of them. I also like Ask the Dragon a lot.
Oh, cool.
That's from Rising. And that's a really different kind of song. It's got this really funky beat to it and a great bass line throughout the song. And it's one of those songs where she kind of talks through it and then screams towards it. Um, I didn't write the lyrics down for that, but it's like Ask the Dragon why they crawl on
Why he's walking with 8 legs.
8 legs.
Just, I
And when it
don't know.
gets,
I'm
yeah,
just doing it.
yeah. But when it gets to a human, like a girl or a guy, then she says, and this is what he says. And it's so cool, that whole
It has a
arrangement.
companion song called Ask the Elephant. There's
Right.
another.
Yeah. So I don't know if I gave another 5, but I'll throw in Let Me Count the Ways a lot.
Oh, that's
What
nice.
I love the fact that she intentionally, because Girl Old With Me, they envision themselves as Richard and Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Girl Old With Me was based on a Richard Browning poem, and Let Me Count the Ways was based on Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And she made sure that she was also, it had that demo quality, just like Girl Old With Me, just her on a piano, even with some like echo on there. And it flowed so well into Grow Old With Me. I like the fact that she did that. Um, it's beautiful melody too, beautiful words, everything about it. Yeah, and I love her voice on there.
Cool.
Yeah, there are just so many great lyrics. And John, I remember John a quote saying he's so inspired because he finds Yoko's lyrics so poetic. And it's so true. It makes you think, imagery, and like you think about, mirror becomes a razor. When it's broke, then, look in the mirror and see your shattered fate. And, wood becomes a flute. When it's loved, you play a flute. It's just really beautiful. Yeah,
Mm.
I love the words of some of these, and she sometimes really puts a lot of feeling in there, both
Oh
soft,
yeah.
as Madeline was saying, remember love, or one that I'm going to pick when my turn comes. That's not so soft. Okay. All right. Let's move on now, Tom. Let's hear your next 5.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess one of our lists should at least have Walking on Thin Ice.
Mm.
This is
You think?
just, yeah. Didn't John say he thought this is a number 1 track?
Yeah.
And in a way, I mean, it did become a number 1, in
It,
the dance, and then
it
in the
did
dance chart.
well. It did well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did well, and it is amazing. And the bass is Tony Levine, the bass player on this track. I think
Levin.
Not sure.
Levin, yeah. Because I couldn't find exactly the artist on this particular track. It is on the Double Fantasy um, reissue from the early 2000s
Okay.
as a bonus track, but it didn't really necessarily have the credits on that. So we'll just say it's Tony at this moment, but amazing. And just, yeah, again, the way she sings the song, the upbeatness of it. I mean, this would be a good introduction, I think, to Yoko Ono, or that, or Hell in
Yeah.
Paradise, something upbeat and something with a good beat, something I think that people could easily get into. So that was, like I said, it became a number 1 dance track eventually. I think it was it was remastered or whatever, not remastered, but remixed in 2015, I think it was, or something like that. I think they did a new video for it or something.
It was
I guess.
beautiful, the Maestro version.
Yeah.
The string.
Right. Um, I have a couple that were my number 1s for some time, but this ended up changing a couple times. If you want to call it screaming, yelling, wailing, whatever you want to call it, the best one, in my opinion, where the music and her screaming works side by side, is Why. The opening track of Her Plastic Ono Band. this is, I think, phenomenal. Like I said, her screaming matches so well with John, Ringo, and Klaus. And what a band that is. Imagine your backing band being John, Ringo, and Klaus. And Ken, I think this is one of the tracks that I commented on about Ringo when I was on your show about doing, about Ringo's drumming. And just, just the way he was just pounding on his drums with that track, and John on the guitar.
Yep.
Amazing. Everything works here for me on this song.
And that almost didn't get recorded. It just happened to keep rolling. Yeah. Because at the end, he hears John saying, "Where you getting that?" Because
yeah. Wow. Amazing.
Some of those jams were pretty long on Plastic Ono Band, and just the fact that Ringo, I'm sure he must have gotten tired at some point.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
I mean, if nothing else, if some people out there, a lot of people are not going to care for a lot of the yelling, screaming on that particular album. But what about the musicianship on that album?
Oh, that's the thing. But I don't want that to be the focus, though. I want the focus to be Yoko, really. When I talk about these songs, the band really enhances, what she's doing vocally. Yes, but it's really her that I want to, focus on.
Well, Sean's quote about that song is that she goes from not being into rock and roll to inventing punk rock.
There you go. Yes. Now I was just going to say, do you think that's like the early punk right there, in my opinion?
The first time I heard that was in a jukebox in the department store. They had the B-side of Mother. It was John's song Mother was there.
That's right, the B-side.
Oh my God, Yoko has a B-side, and I put the quarter in, and the whole thing was rumbling from those drums. It was so great.
Wow.
All right, now going to one a beautiful song. I'm so glad that I know this song, and it's my number 3, and it's a demo. It's a bonus track on the Fly album, and it's called "Will You Touch Me." Amazingly beautiful. I think it's just John and Yoko. John on acoustic guitar, Yoko singing, kind of childlike in a falsetto voice. And will you touch me? Will you touch me when my body's full of fear? Will you reach me? Will you reach me when my body's so cold? I love the chorus. All of my life, the doors kept closing on me. Nothing in the world can open my heart but some kindness. Really beautiful song, and I would ask everybody here to listen to that song. All of our songs, actually, that we're picking, they're all great ones.
Yeah.
This is what that Ono box should have been called. This next song. Do you know what it is?
No.
Open Your Box. The B-side to Power to the People. It was on the Fly album, but as a different song. And can you pronounce that, Madeline?
Hirake. It means open.
Means open. Hirake, yes. And very risque, controversial, because it did get banned by the wonderful BBC over on the other side of the pond. But what she says is open. Open your box, which means something. It's not a box. And I didn't know they were using that term that early, long ago. I thought it was a kind of a relatively new term for that, for the female body part.
Okay.
Your box, your trousers, your skirt, your legs, thighs, flies, as in fly for the jeans, right? You think, Madeline?
Yeah.
Ears, nose, mouth, cold feet, the cities, the world, and that's all the things that she wants us to open.
There's a censored version, and all those words are kind of muffled, but it sounds kind of cool.
Yes, it does. Very cool. And you sent me that long version. I thought that was awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, that was really cool. And then what ended up being my number 1. Again, this was just amazing track, and it's called "Run, Run, Run from Feeling the Space," and which is becoming one of my favorite albums from Yoko. But very soulful, great female backing singers on this with Yoko. And each time she would say feeling this or feeling that, the backing vocals would come in and join her with this. So it's like feeling the breeze, feeling the spring, and suddenly I noticed that it wasn't light anymore. And then the next verse is suddenly I noticed that it wasn't fun anymore. Suddenly I noticed it wasn't spring anymore. So very beautiful song. I tumbled on roots. I stumbled on stones. Lost my marbles. Stepped on my glasses. And then feeling. And then the backing vocals. The I don't know how many women are doing the backing vocals. Maybe 2 or 3. Absolutely gorgeous. But then run, run, run through your life. Run, run, run for your life. Again, it's just beautiful beautiful words and beautiful song, and I'm so glad that I know this song now. I do have an honorable mention, but I guess we'll get to that when because I do have a little speech about this honorable mention that I hope you don't mind. I do, Joe. But
No,
next,
no, please, by all means.
yeah.
All right, Tom. I like that. Well said. Okay, it's my turn now. Boy, I'm finding like a couple of things getting mentioned here, so I'm kind of moving to other stuff that I had. But these mine are in no particular order, by the way, except I'll probably tell you when I get to it. Maybe my number one is the one I'll mention last. But anyway, I had to go with I'm moving on from Double Fantasy. It's not very long. It's short, but I never forget the first time I heard it. And I've told this story before when Double Fantasy was going to be coming out, and I was a teenager, and I was like, I can't wait to hear it. John, it's back. And I happened to catch the end of I'm Losing You on the radio. I just turned the stereo on, and you heard John like talking about, do you still have to carry that cross and this and that? And he was like, I said, oh, John, he sounds in good form, and it's kind of rocking this song. I got to listen to this. This is fantastic. And then it goes on, and something weird happened at the end. It started getting like, distorted, all this stuff, and it's not over yet. It comes back, and then Yoko comes in like a kind of the way I say, almost like a call and response song. She's going to respond to what John just said, and I was like, this is better. Best song on the album. I used to think when I would hear this album, maybe still do. Her doing I'm moving on, and really getting into it. She's had enough. You didn't have to tell a white lie. Don't stick your finger in my pie. All this kind of stuff. But she's like annoyed, but then she wants the truth. And I just again I feel like I'm not taking away from Yoko, but I just love the musicianship on there. I mean, I like the music that goes with it, the feel of the whole piece. I just like the idea that it's John sings his part and then she does him one better, and saying that there's some trouble there. They might be having some trouble in paradise. Everybody thinks that they always portrayed this image as Romeo and Juliet, the perfect couple. Well, listen to this, and she thinks it's getting phony, and we're getting phony, and all this. You're getting phony, and all this kind of stuff. And at the end, of course, modestly, as I think she says in the interview, she does that wailing stuff with the Yoko Ono stuff that we all know, the stereotype, but not too long. Just enough to sweeten the end, I think. I really love that she puts that on at the end of it. So I really love that track. It's one of my favorite Yoko songs. Then I'm going with Sisters Oh Sisters, which I always bring up. Feminist song, pro women song. But what I like about it is the feel that it has. Again, it's almost like a little girl kind of thing. We're kind of saying with remember love. Not remember. Yeah, remember love, the soft one. But she sounds like she's singing in a girl group. I always figure that this could be what is this? The Cookies or something? I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example. It sounds like a pop song like that I could some of it. I could hear it back in the earlier times. So I've always liked it.
Kind of like the Ronettes.
The Ronettes, and now one that I have that's a tough one, and I'm wondering if Madeline can help me with this. I don't know if anything's been said about this song from Yoko. It's off season of Glassing and hasn't been mentioned, and it's another tough one, and it's called No No No.
Mhm.
I don't know what really it's about. I know what I think it's about and why it affects me. Uh, it seems like after John was killed, that she's trying to come to terms with a lot of this stuff in her mind, and it has I have the lyrics for this one, and it's like, let me take my scarf off. No, no, yes, yes. Don't help me. You know,
It's
don't.
the ambivalence of maybe trying to have another relationship or have anybody else touch her, or it's
Yeah,
very, very intense.
yeah.
And of course, the gunshots in the beginning of the
Right. It starts
song,
off with gunshots, and she screams no, and then the song starts, and it's really, yeah. I was going to use it. Tension in the song.
and the
It's
ambulance siren, and
the
the
ambulance is
going
at
out
the end,
there.
and she says all this kind of. She's like having trouble adjusting. Like yeah. That's pretty much what I've always taken from it. With another a lover, perhaps. Don't touch me. I don't like it. And then it's you promised me. You promised me. I don't remember what you promised. I know you didn't keep it. And then it's stuff like that. Let me
Mhm.
take my ring off. No, no. Yes, yes. And she's really trying to adjust to
He
these
writes
mixed
about it in
feelings.
the Ono Box liner notes. You can read all about it there. I quoted
Oh,
from it in the book. It's really intense.
yeah. So I guess that's enough said about it. It's really powerful, that track.
Yeah,
Uh,
she even said a musician wanted to keep it musical and not have an ambulance. He wanted the instruments to play the ambulance sound, and she said, "No, I want to keep it real."
yeah, and she did. And then she says, "I don't remember what we promised, but I miss you." At the end,
Hmm.
Mhm.
just before you hear the ambulance. So
Right.
anyway, let's get a little happier. Well, I guess I had Born in a Prison also, so I'm gonna like kind of like cheat and get another one. I love Born in a Prison, always have. You know.
I got to see her sing it live at the one-to-one concert.
Oh,
Oh
you went to
wow.
the one-to-one concert. I don't remember you telling me.
Lucky.
I don't think. Wow, that's great.
Amazing.
That's fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah, and yeah, that's we said about the lyric. That I already mentioned again about the razor and all that, and the harmonies with John. But I like the song, and I don't know what too much to say about this. The song "My Man," I really like a lot. I don't know. I just like it. It's new wavy. And again, I love telling stories where people heard these things that I know, people I know, and they were impressed. One time I was in my record store and I played that song, and some young person said, "This, who is this?" I like, and I said, "Yoko Ono." He said, "You're kidding me." I said, "No, it is." Uh, so I really love it. With the Babaloos and all in there. Uh, I know I really love that. And also the video. There's a nice video for it that I like, and Sean is in it.
Mhm.
When he was small, I really like it from the "It's All Right" album. And I'm going to go with I have to if I had to pick a favorite Yoko song. It seems these days that it's so like cliche in a way, but "Walking on Thin Ice." It's got Yoko, like I say, being I say modern, but sounding like at least for that time anyway, a dance track.
But it was also an older tape that she had that John pulled out, and she's like, "Oh, I wonder why this one."
Oh, that's interesting. I don't think
Yeah,
I knew
and
that.
the line in there, I wonder if she knew about it. It's all that she's got this little psychic thing going on.
Yeah, she's thinking that whole bit in there about the lake and everything. I have my own images of that. I don't know if it was intended this way, but sometimes songs make you think. Like I always think when she says, "I knew a girl who walked across a lake." Yeah. Of course, it was winter when all this was ice. And et cetera, et cetera. And it says something about they say the lake is as big as the ocean, meaning like I wonder if she knew about it. Now, what does that mean? Well, to me, it means this is my interpretation. She's walking across the lake, ice, doesn't
Mhm.
realize as she gets down farther and farther, this thing goes on a lot longer. It stretches on longer, and at some point, you're stuck out there on an ocean, frozen ocean,
Mhm.
and very may very well melt, and you can't get back. That's what I've always thought when I hear that. So I wonder if she knew about. Like, did she know that this was that long? Is there a purpose to her going out there that far deliberately to do that, or did she not know about it?
Well,
So.
And then, I mean, I don't think she knows what she's, she thinks about it later and she's like, well, the girl was me. And the lake in her mind was Lake Michigan, which she had visited. And it was just imagery,
See, we lost Ken. Hopefully we can get him back, but at least we got through with the songs anyway, right? So, but yeah, just it was the closest thing to a big hit Yoko had, and John plays the guitar on it and all that. And it's terrific track. I have other ones too, but I'll let you go next, Madeline.
Okay. Well, first I want to mention that I write about every song and every album in the book, and it's not just in the back like a discography. It's in throughout the book in each instance where they take place in her life, because every album has resonance to her life. So I wanted to say that, and then also. It's just a funny quote from her. She says, "My son's friends are always exchanging CDs that they make privately, so far out. And, I have to shut my mouth. I'm not going to say that's like what I used to do. I say, great, isn't that cool?" But it's really getting to that point, it's amazing. So she was thrilled that, the world was coming around to her style. So I guess I'll pick some more avant-garde songs.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A chapter called Queen of the Scream, which explains all her influences and going from John Cage to the 12-tone composers, and it just takes you through, how she got to this point. But yeah, I would have picked Y, of course, but John described it as today's Tutti Frutti when he was playing it on the radio. But I would also pick Greenfield Morning from Yoko Plastigono Band. And that's the one that has the drone loop from George Harrison's instrument, the Indian tablet. What is it? The sitar.
Sitar.
And it's quite possibly the drone that's used at the beginning of Tomorrow Never Knows. It's that one. I think it's the one. And they added such an eerie echo to Ringo's drums. He didn't even recognize his own playing when he heard it back. And here's a quote from Sean. "She's the one who produced it. She put all the delays on Ringo's drums. And when he heard it, he said, 'Who's playing drums?' She put so much delay. It was more than on the avant-garde side, but it connected to punk. It wasn't like screw everybody. It was like, let's heal through expression." And her lyrics are ghostly and eerie, and they speak of miscarriages, pushing the empty baby carriage all over the city. And soon her young daughter was absconded by her husband. And it's just very strange and she said she was getting bored with just a beat. So she went very far with it. So that was her description. And I want to pick, what am I going to do next? Mine Train. Mine Train is
I like
because
that
it's so great live and it's just wonderful, and it's nearly 17 minutes long, and this predates Kraftwerk's Train song, right? Trans-Europe Express by 5 years, and I just think it's they described it as Can doing the locomotion, the German band, and the rhythm is similar to Can's track Hallelujah, which is on Tago Mago, and also released in that same year. And the lyrics are dark at times. She sings, "I thought of killing that man," but the train is conceptual. She's singing, "The train plows through my mind," right? And there's the thing about 33 windows shining, and there's the number 33 a lot through her music. And it's a powerful number that has several meanings in religion and different contexts. So she uses that. And then we once asked her, "Where does the Dub Dub train go?" And she said, "Nowhere. And that's a beautiful place to go." So then I also love his "Winter Here to Stay," her most bluesy song. And Jagger plays on that. And she just repeats those words over and over during approximately Infinite Universe. And she said, when I made that song, I did it in a very late stage of the recording. And when I did it, I thought I want to check out all the songs I did and start from there again. So
Was that that would be from this photo, wouldn't it?
right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then I love Catman. In response to like, I want my man to rest tonight, my love to rest tonight. So she was singing all this gentleness about how she sympathizes with her man. And the militant feminists of the day were kind of upset with her because they were just so powerful on his power trip, you know, and they got down on her like, what are you singing this mushy stuff for? But then she did Catman, which is about this macho, insensitive guy, you know, but there's a gang of male bashing females, which are the Rosies, that are coming after him, and they're taunting him by singing that nursery rhyme, you know. And
can I ask you a question real quick about the whole feminist movement? Was she seen as a leader in that movement by other feminist leaders?
She kind of, you know what, just in the same way she wasn't grouped in, she was grouped in with Fluxus, but she wasn't a member of it, and she was grouped in with the avant-garde, but she wasn't a member. She kind of always, I don't know if it was her herself standing back or them not accepting her, maybe a little both, you know, she was never part of that group.
Interesting.
She did fight for women's rights in her own ways, but she never aligned with them, if that's what you're saying, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah, thank you.
So so she did Catman on that show called Flipside. It was 30 minutes in the studio of 4 songs from, well, 3 from Approximately Infinite Universe and a single, Josie at Joe Bonsai. But in the show, John was saying that there was an article from the Times that a gang of male bashing females was running around wearing masks and beating up on men. And it's not too far like from what people are doing today with the Me Too movement and how militant these women are becoming. So I thought that was just a really cool song and a prescient message as well. And then there's the ones on Fly where she has the Joe Jones instruments that he built. You know, some are just played by the wind, you know, some of the gong here and there. And I just love Oh Wind. There's really no lyric other than Oh Wind. But it's just beautiful. Really, really beautiful. It's used in the film Imagine. What else? Don't Worry, Kyoko. Nobody mentions Don't Worry.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I have that as an honorable mention.
Okay.
So,
but the thing with that, what I've come to realize later, where the riff either comes from or influenced, right? Like I just name in the book, I name all these. So it's, of course, the Everly Brothers, Wake Up Little Susie's the opening riff. And then it's on Johnny Winter's I'm Yours and She's Mine that the Stones are singing at Hyde Park. It's that same thing. And Little Richard has a song Green Power, also from 1971. It's kind of funky, but it's got that and I just love it. I mean, the Lyceum version is fantastic. The Toronto version is amazing. And of course, it comes from a sad place. She's singing about her daughter. But I was there when one of her birthday concerts in Brooklyn, 2010, and Eric Clapton came and joined in on a guitar for that song. And I was in the front row, and there he was. And I'm like, well, I'm living someone else's dream because here's Eric Clapton wailing away. But it was just, you know, the Yoko thing I was there. It was so great, though. And what else can I pick? So Kiss, Kiss, Kiss.
I like all the titles that have the same word 3 times. You know,
no. Men,
man, run. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just that was one of the first. I was working for a magazine at the time, CMJ, and our speakers were out for repair, but we got the John Lennon single in the mail. And what do? You hand over the headphones to Madeline because she has to hear the Yoko song. And that's what I did. I put on the Yoko side, and it was the best thing in the world. And I loved it. And, of course, I examined it, and it said One World, One People Around the Edge, which was going to be the name of their tour if they had been able. So that's one of my favorites as well. And it's amazing in headphones. It just goes back and forth. And she sang that in total darkness on the floor of the studio. And her statement about it is, she goes into her warbling at the end, and she says, it will be controversial because people still feel it's less natural to hear the sounds of a woman's lovemaking than the sound of a Concorde killing the atmosphere and polluting nature. So, we have this dichotomy of what we think is pleasant, And, I was comparing it to, it's not Jane Birkin and Serge Gainsbourg's Zatem, that was fine. And Donna Summer and I Feel Love, that was fine. But, everybody has something else to say about Yoko. So
because it's Yoko, right?
Right.
Right.
Well, hey, Madeline, I was at the concert in Brooklyn, too.
Oh, yeah?
And that was an amazing show. I always wondered, because I'm pretty sure it was filmed.
They filmed everything, but I don't know if we'll ever see the stuff. She just had it all filmed.
It's a great lineup of musicians in there, and Sean did a lot of playing, and Harper Simon, who's the son of Paul Simon, was there.
Bette Midler did Yes, I'm Your Angel.
And Sean drummed on that.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's a terrific show.
And then there was a rehearsal the night before with all different bands. Did you know that? That was cool too.
So, how about we can talk about a few honorable mentions, maybe quick. I know, Tom, you wanted to talk about something.
Yeah, I got one real quick, and I excuse me for a few minutes, Joe. I want to talk to all the OG Beatle fans out there, okay? And I'm not talking about the young ones like Joe and Ken. Okay, I'm talking about the teenager ones that were teenagers in 63, 64. Okay, the ones that, really grew up with the Beatles. I want to talk to you guys because, you guys weren't really that nice, were you? Your generation, right? You told the younger generation, you told Joe and Ken that Yoko broke up the Beatles, right? And then you know what you did? You told my generation that Yoko broke up the Beatles. You called her ugly Jap, you called her talentless, you called her witch, and you spewed a lot of hate. And what I want you to do for me is I want you to listen to my honorable mention, and it's a track called I Learned How to Stutter. So from her words to your ears, I want you to learn what your hate did to Yoko Ono. And then after you listen to that, you can piss off. Next.
Wow. I had to give you a spotlight for that. Wow.
Standing ovation.
That was really
speaking your mind. Yoko's rubbing off on you.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, I know Madeline's probably got many honorable mentions. Either one, Ken, Madeline.
I'll name a few, but some of them you've already mentioned. Goodbye Sadness, I think, is a brilliant track. It is very sad, but it's very cathartic, and it's something that she had to say at that time. Death of Samantha, which really does have a jazz feel to it. Kind of sounds like if you were in a lounge and there isn't that much lighting in there, and you've got a small combo jazz outfit. It would sound kind of like that. Yoko saying I'm a cool chick baby, which she is. Yes, I'm Your Angel, I like a lot, even though she had some problems with that song, with it sounding
making whoopee.
There's a similarity, but I wouldn't say it's exactly the same. It Happened, which I think is also from the
B-side.
I think that was on A Story originally, and then it became the B-side of Walking on Thin Ice. Another really
that's when I heard it.
Tune. I think that was remixed. I like Peter the Dealer a lot.
Oh, good track. Yes.
Yeah. Great piano playing on that too. Sisters Oh Sisters I have in there. I felt like smashing my face in a clear glass.
Yes.
I like that a lot. That's very punkish.
Yeah.
It has kind of like a teenage angst kind of
Mhm.
feel to it. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff, I'm sure when it first came out, seemed really weird at the time, and then later on, it's almost like it's mainstream. There's nothing
Yeah.
shocking about it. But she was
Right.
doing this stuff in 1973, and
Yeah.
yeah, I also had Walking on Thin Ice. Um, yeah, I think that's everything.
There's nothing left. You mentioned a bunch of mine, a few of mine there
Sorry.
as I had on the bottom. It's okay.
Well,
I only
another
wanted.
honorable mention that's not on an album is Whole Lotta Yoko from Rock and Roll Circus. How about that with Ivy
Oh yeah, that's
and
good.
violin? And that guy was a virtuoso, and he was incredible. He used to interpret Alban Berg, like a lot of the 12-tone composers that Yoko was really into, and he was so into it with her, and I thought that was wonderful.
Hmm. Very
Yeah,
cool.
the only different song that hasn't been mentioned that I had was "Hard Times Are Over." Yeah, I think of that mostly as Yoko. I mean, though they're both St. John singing with her in the background of that. Well, I'm sure
Well,
we
can
could
I
go on
just
longer.
give one? I want to just on the
Absolutely.
Feeling the Space, the remat or the reissue from a few years back. I'm not seeing the year out here, but it's a gatefold, and I just really love that image of Yoko there.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool. So okay, that's it.
Can I add one more thing?
By all means.
Yes, I mentioned Nobody Sees Me Like You Do as being my favorite Yoko song. I neglected to mention that I had the chance to interview Yoko twice on the phone. One was when her album Rising came out, and the other was when the John Lennon acoustic album came out. And not knowing, not taking this for granted that I have the chance to talk to Yoko, I said, "Look, I got to tell you one thing. My favorite song of yours is Nobody Sees Me Like You Do." And she said, "That's funny. That was John's favorite too."
Oh,
Mm.
holy
So that
cow!
just made me feel
Yeah.
that hit
Feels
me
pretty
right
good.
here.
Pretty
So
good.
just to know I share anything in common with John was really nice to say.
I'm glad I got to meet Yoko a couple of times. I mean, just got an autograph and a photo. There wasn't any talking really, but it was a nice experience. I'm so happy. Well, thanks everybody. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate everybody for participating. Tom, Ken, Madeline, of course. Madeline, let's talk one more time about your book, In Your Mind: The Infinite Universe of Yoko Ono.
Thank you.
And tell everybody where they can get this book, how easily or
So it's
not
on
so easily.
Amazon for those of you overseas who might have a problem with shipping costs, but it's also available. The hardcover is only available from conceptualbooks.com, and I can sign that. There's an option of having me sign it for you. Yeah, and it's just, I'm so happy that the reception it's been getting. People are saying that they're feeling uplifted. Every page has at least one or two or three quotes from Yoko, and they're all like little fortune cookies, words of wisdom that you can live by and heal by. People are comparing it to grapefruit in a way, saying, little instructions you can do, or because it's a bunch of short stories that you can really absorb.
And follow her Twitter page if you want just like uplifting positive quotes on a daily basis. Follow her on Twitter.
There you go. That's a good plug for that.
Love
All
her.
right. So, and Tom Hunyadi, of course, his show with Andy Nichols is Two Legs on YouTube and elsewhere. Where else is that?
Any audio platform you listen, if you only listen to podcasts on an audio platform, we're on 99% of them. Or if you want the video version, you just go to YouTube and type in Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast, and you'll find us.
And Ken Michaels, of course, Every Little Thing, his syndicated radio show. You can check out on YouTube. He has the Ken Michaels radio channel where he does a lot of interviews and talks to people just like us here and does little shows. And I was going to say contests, but just games really more than anything kind of thing. Would you say games?
On the YouTube channel.
Well, when you do the ones like the 5 songs,
Oh, the
help me
Fab
out here.
Five. Fab
Oh,
Five.
Fab Five.
Yeah. Those aren't really contests. Those are just,
No, I got rid of that fast. I'm gonna edit, I should edit this. I'm not editing it. I'm not editing it. No, contests are on what you do on your other meets.
It's on my website.
Website.
But then I switch it to. I was referring to games. I'd call them games like the FaB. Anyway, check that out, and also things we said today,
right?
Which is a podcast that he does as well,
which is also on all the audio platforms like Two Legs, and also has a YouTube channel.
Okay, so thanks again, everybody, and let's not forget happy birthday to Yoko Ono, 90 years young.
Yes, 90. Wow.
God bless Yoko.
Okay, everyone, take care, all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
I pressed the wrong button. Good. So long.